Okay, we're going to get started straight away tonight. So I'd like you guys to come into what we call butterfly pose. So I'll show you from the front, I'll show you from the side as well. We're going to have the feet together, heels, I'd say about 18 inches away from the groin. Now, from the side, you guys can do a number of things. So you can just have your elbows resting on your thighs like so. You might have a bit more range where you can come a little bit deeper. If you're lucky enough to have a block handy, it's quite nice just to have the block there supporting the forehead. Or I sometimes even have my hands under the block just to get a bit of extra height. Props for me are a really important part of the practice because they allow me to just feel as though I can let go a little bit easier. But it's such a personal choice. So let's come into that. That's pretty kind of simple to start with. If it's feeling like it's pulling quite a lot around the outer hips, just bring your heels in a bit closer to your groin. And let's begin. Alrighty, so those of you guys that have practiced with me before, you'll know that I don't talk too much in my yin practices. So I will offer you guys a little bit of guidance, just kind of getting into the pose and feeling into just them initial layers of let go. And then I really like to encourage just that quietness. It's a very quiet practice. It's very much about kind of stilling the body in order to bring some stillness to the mind. So let's just use this first pause to kind of feel into the body. Maybe get acquainted with the quality of your breath. Don't worry about how deep or how far. Just really coming into the initial stages of stillness. And just again, that noticing of the breath, just observing the quality. Then if you can, in this first pause, see if you can even out your breath, just so the inhale and the exhale are relatively equal. And just in this final few breaths, and start to feel in now for that next layer of softness. So just underneath the skin. So we've got plenty of time to move through the layers and no need to rush the process. So I'm just going to start to gradually come on out of that. So you can roll your spine up vertebrae at a time, bringing your head up last, maybe even help your head up with your hand. Just keep the neck relaxed. And we'll come straight into the next shape before we take a kind of counter pose type situation. So we're going to come into half dragonfly. So you've got your left leg out and your right leg is in. Remember, you can always sit up on things like blankets and blocks and all the things. And then there's just a very gentle turn of the torso towards the left leg. Now, some of you guys will want to come all the way in. You might have that range tonight, which is fine. For me, I like to come in stages. So things like bolsters on knees is a really good one to start with. Just giving a minute or so for the spine to get used to this position. If you don't have bolsters, you can use an elbow propped up there. So it's not a side one, this one. It's just still kind of working that forward folding of the spine. You can even be quite high up with your hands resting on your thigh. So it, again, just gradually coming into the forward flexion, but nothing too hectic tonight. Again, if neck's a problem, you can always have a hand underneath your chin. I sometimes do that. So there's actually something really beautiful about going like way less than where we can go, particularly early on in the practice. We kind of get this weird kind of habit that we get used to of going into as far as we can go, and we just kind of stay there and wait. That's really not what this practice is about. So it's like this gradual arriving in the pose, but we never really get there. We're just holding the body still as it unravels in the time that we give it on any given day. So just use this time to allow for the unraveling, like you've got your own organic release rate that's unique to you. Just let yourself feel into what that is. noticing now, maybe as the body's kind of adapted to this shape, that there's a possibility that props can move, or maybe there's a position that's kind of calling out to you just to move slightly, maybe to the left or slightly to the right. Don't be fearful of moving in the pose. Like, sure, we want to remain still, but we also want to listen to the opening in our body, and if there's room, then we follow that. And then again, we just want to ease on out of that pretty slow. It's deceivingly deep, these kind of forward side bends. So just be mindful of that. Again, maybe helping your head up with your hand. Let's just pause there in the middle before we go to the other side. And see if you can feel into the left and the right side of your spine. It's like, for me, the left still feels quite dull. That's not been worked. The right's alive and tingly with chi. And then let's transition. So we'll take the right leg out, the left leg comes in. And then again, take your time. Like, we've not got to be anywhere tonight at all. So you might want to work with a bolster across your leg. So torso faces towards your right leg. You might even really take it easy with elbows on a bolster on your chin. So you're barely folding forward. And then if it's one of those days where there's a bit more give in your body, you can come straight in without a prop. So all different. Remembering also that, we don't want major like discrepancies of flexibility on either side of the body, but there will be a noticeable difference from one side to the other. So we want to consider that too, and rather than just doing the exact same out of habit, kind of bring a little bit more curiosity and openness to the practice. It's not just assuming. And then just keep, every time we move, that attention that just comes back to the breath. And we're not doing anything, overcomplicated with the breath, but really wanting to breathe in and out evenly, just to bring balance back into the body. So if it helps to count, then by all means count. Maybe in 4 and out 4, something like that. And for this last little portion of the hold, okay, maybe there's space to move your props away. Maybe not also, maybe where you are is just perfectly right for you. And perhaps for this last little bit of time, there's a more of an intentional focus on the breath, particularly through the left side of the spine. And then again, just that easing out. See if you can keep the back of your head relaxed, so you're supporting your head with your hand, so your neck muscles stay relaxed. And easing up. Pause again in center, maybe your hands are on your knees. Instead of feeling into the sensations and the energy that's running through the spine. Just notice what you feel. And then we'll just take a really brief counter pause. So I'm going to ask you to bring your feet to the floor. We'll just windscreen wipe the knees from side to side. So again, we don't want to move too quickly, but sometimes a little bit of movement just to keep the chi moving through the body. Maybe pause for a breath on one side there. And then over to the other. And we'll move from here into caterpillar pose. So again, we're still working the forward flexion of the spine. So don't focus too much on the backs of the legs today. So say like a bolster at the back of your knees is definitely an option. You could even rest your head in your hands, something like so. Those of you guys that have got more space in the backs of your legs, you might want to go without the props, coming in a lot further forward. And you know, if the forward folds are really, really tricky for you, even just being up in a slight forward fold is enough, just so long as you're not like this. Okay. If this is happening, so you're like almost engaging your abs, I would suggest coming into legs on the wall. Otherwise, your version of caterpillar. And again, just allowing the time and the space for your body to come in. I'm kind of feeling into this. There's a point that you guys will have heard so many times in yin yoga where we talk about the Goldilocks position. But it's like It's not just about finding that comfortable edge, it's about getting really honest with how often that edge changes. You know, sometimes we come to the mat and we can just go really deep, and then other days it just is not happening. And it's really about accepting where our body's at, like honestly. We get so much more from the practice this way. And again, those last 5 or so breaths. So again, there's nothing really that needs to happen, but just that inquiry into whether or not you're still there in that kind of comfortable edge. Maybe there's another layer to let go. Maybe you've gone beyond what's really enough for you, and it's really slowly. See if you can start to feel as you're coming out, like you're stacking each vertebrae of your spine one on top of the other. Like I actually walk my hands up my legs, and then keep the chin tucked in as you help your head up with your hand. Just pausing for a moment there with your spine upright. And then we will ease down onto the back just for maybe a minute or so. Just allowing for the spine to feel supported by the earth as we kind of integrate that first stage. So the forward flexion of the spine. Maybe there's a big sigh out through your mouth. then finding a way to ease on up to sitting, just, whatever works really. We're moving to Sphinx pose, which has many alternatives, and if you guys know where you want to go, don't wait for my descriptions. It's up to you to go straight in, but we're going to be on our belly. So for me, it just works to have my legs a lot wider than hip width. It just kind of gets a bit more space into the lower back, and I've been working a lot with my bolsters, with my elbows on a bolster. So if that's a good option for you, you might want to do something like that. You can also have your forearms and elbows on blocks. If that's a bit too much, which it can be, coming just onto forearms. I like to have my palms together and the shoulders and elbows stacked there. It feels like there's less effort if I do that, but you can also have your arms parallel. If that's still too much, even something like your chin resting in your hands is fine. So set yourself, I will let you know when we're coming to halfway. So there's an option to go up into seal if you know that, but I'm not going to go into it tonight just because it's late at night and it can be quite a deep back bend, which, as you know, is invigorating and up-regulating. So you just want to be mindful of that too. Now you can let your head hang forward. Some people prefer to do that. For me, I just like to keep the head neutral. It just feels that just opens up a bit more of the extension in the spine, which is kind of what we want in this pose tonight. Again, just checking in your body, particularly when we've come into an extension after a lot of flexion. There can be like extra layers of internal gripping, holding. So just make sure you're allowing for the support of the breath to just soften those edges. So just being aware that seal is quite up-regulating. There is the option to come in for the last kind of 8 or so breaths. So if you know seal and you know that your body is able to manage, you don't mind being a little bit up-regulated, then take it. And also know there's ways to to deepen into the shape that you're already in without moving. So just notice for tension through the legs, the butt muscles, and also through the belly, through the inner tissues of the abdomen, maybe even into the internal organs. Alrighty, so start to make your way. Do this really slowly. If you're on props, then move them forward or to the side, and we'll come onto the belly. Take your right cheek to the floor first and bend your left knee up towards your left elbow, so you've got cactus arms. And just letting the right side of the lower back, and just release for any compression that's occurred there. And then changing cheeks, and changing legs, so left cheek, right knee bends, just even out the lower left side of the spine. So you can feel for relaxing through the pelvis also. Okay, and then with as much ease as possible, I'm going to ask you to come onto your back again. So you might just flip over like a pancake. You might need to come up to seated for a minute. We're going to move into banana asana. So we'll start on our backs together. I'm going to give you a number of different options for this one. So take the left leg over to the left and let the right leg move towards it. And then kind of shimmy your upper body over to the left also. So you've got a banana through your body where the right ribs are open and the left ribs are closed, like a whole human banana body. Now, arms over the head works well for a lot of people, but if that doesn't work for you, don't do that. You can also hold opposite elbows if you've got that much range. And then the other option is to cross your right ankle over your left thigh. So again, we're focusing on the lateral aspect of the spine here. So you want to feel like the whole right side of the body is opening. But still managing to keep the pelvis relatively close to the floor. So for me, I like no cross of the ankles because I feel like the cross creates a little bit more effort through my legs, which I don't want to feel. I just want to feel that release through the side body. You choose what works. You know, we're really close to the ground here. So again, just that reliance on the support that is beneath your body. Imagine how deep the earth goes. And just little old us being held up. So you can really, really, really relax. And start to ease. Again, just pretty slowly back. Somewhere into the midline, so the spine feels as though it's back in center. Let's just pause for a moment there to notice like the spaciousness that's along the right side of the spine. Just get that felt sense of what that feels like for you. And let's transition to the opening of the left side. So the right leg goes as far over to the right as you can, and take the left leg next to that. Little shimmy of the shoulders over. So it's also nice just to have like one hand behind your head. I sometimes like just the left hand cradling the back of the head there. You can cross the left ankle over the right if that works on this side for you. Maybe arms come over your head. You know, and this pose is one of those ones, it's like a subtle or a more subtle experience when we're in the shape. And then when we come out, it's really apparent how much has changed. So it's going to be okay if it's not a majorly intense experience for you. And again, just with that real slow almost like a shuffle back to the midline, and again allow for a neutral place for the spine. Just noticing the spaciousness on both sides. And then from there, staying on your back, just bend your knees so that your feet are flat. And shift your pelvis over to the right a couple of inches. And we'll take both knees over to the left. Okay, and I'm going to give you a whole number of options here. So if you're happy with just knees over to the left, make sure that your right knee is stacked on top of your left. You can always work with a bolster underneath your knees and your shins there. That's quite nice. Right arm is out to shoulder height, left arm out. Maybe even gazing towards your right fingertips. The other option that some people like to do is have the bolster on the top of the right leg there as a bit more of an extra weight. So that just help you get deeper into the twist there, which is nice if you just feel like you want to go a little deeper. And then the other option is to keep the right knee bent and extend the left leg so you're in a full kind of supine twist there. And again, you can still have the bolster underneath the right knee there. It doesn't need to be all the way to the floor. You can prop there with blocks as well. I'm going to work with the bolster on top of my thighs tonight. That kind of day. And just, notice with your neck, like if you gaze towards your right fingertips, does that give you extra relief in the neck, or is it creating more tension? And then so maybe if you gaze towards your left fingertips, that's the place that works better for you. Just feel into relaxing through the back of the shoulder blades. Really allowing for the support of the ground underneath. Just moving, if you've got the bolster on the top of your leg, just ease that off. Starting to make your way back through centre again. And you might want to just keep your knees bent there, maybe even knocking your knees into the midline, or if it feels better to straighten the legs fully, do that. Just kind of, again, what works. But it's, again, notice the right side of the spine in comparison to the left. And then let's transition. So always just that extra little bit of a shift of the pelvis over to the left this time as the knees come across to the right. And then choose your option. So again, be open-minded. Just really explore the options for you. And you might come into one option and just, realize that's absolutely not the one for you. You have permission to change your mind as many times as you need to. And then once you're in, it's this real sense of surrendering the need to hold your body together at all. ready, just start to gradually transition your body now from whatever version of the twist you are in. Bring your body back to the midline. You can keep your knees bent for a breath or so if that works. Otherwise, starting to extend your legs long for final rest. You can have a bolster at the back of your knees if that's more comfortable for you. Maybe taking legs up the wall as an option. But once you're set in your resting place, just ease your shoulders away from your ears. Lengthen your tailbone down and let your hands rest just easy on your belly. Before we move into fully resting, start to feel for an abdominal breath as your belly rises up on the inhale and falls away on the exhale. Again, that rise and fall of the breath. As you inhale, let. Exhale, go. And we inhale, let. Exhale, go. And continue on with this quietly. So inhale, let. Exhale, go. Of course, you're very welcome to stay for as long as you need in this place. Otherwise, you start to bring a bit of movement to your fingers and your toes. Maybe taking a full body stretch as you reach your arms above your head, point your toes away. And then ease in gradually to one side. Just allow yourself to rest there for a moment. And then helping yourself up either to seated or kneeling, whatever kind of works for you there. Just feel for an effortlessness through your spine as you sit. It's like the energy that's running through there is holding you up rather than your muscles and your bones. Just feel into that sense of clarity. There's a clearness through the whole of the spine. The energy can move more freely. And then from there, bringing hands to heart. Just to acknowledge the lineage of this practice and the many teachers that have passed it down. So take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in gratitude we finish. Namaste.